Do you ever find yourself feeling exhausted in the mornings, even before you've had your second cup of coffee? I'm not just talking about feeling a bit sleepy. I'm talking about feeling as though you've spent the whole day doing hard work and are exhausted by the time evening comes. If you're experiencing this too, I'd recommend you keep watching the video, because thanks to what you'll learn throughout this video, you can start your day feeling much more refreshed. I promise I won't be talking about supplements, vitamins, diets, or exercises that are impossible to do at the crack of dawn. The topic is much simpler, but the effects are huge, and what you'll learn in the next few minutes will make it very easy to fix. I'm talking about something that's completely harmless and even seems like responsible behavior, namely checking the news. Now, before you click away, I know what you're thinking. I'm just staying informed. That's a good thing, isn't it? And yes, being informed matters, but there's a huge difference between staying informed and letting the news be the very first thing your nervous system absorbs every single morning, especially after 60. Research shows that when women, particularly those over 60, check the headlines first thing in the morning, their bodies undergo significant changes, both mentally and physically. What's more, sometimes this happens even before they've got out of bed. In this video, we'll discuss the reasons behind it, the changes it causes in your body, and what you can do to address it. Don't worry, the advice you're about to receive won't be "don't read the news." So, let's dive in. The biology of the morning news spike. Let's start with what happens in the first few minutes after you wake up. When you wake up, your body goes through what scientists call the cortisol awakening response. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and in a healthy wake-up cycle, it naturally rises in the first 30 to 45 minutes after you open your eyes. This is a good thing. It gives you alertness, motivation, and the energy to start moving. The moment you pick up your phone and start scrolling through the news headlines, your cortisol levels spike suddenly rather than rising gradually. The main reason for this is that news feeds curated by artificial intelligence these days are specifically designed to display the stories that provoke the strongest emotional reactions at the top of the list. Try to recall the news you read this morning. Do you see what I mean now? When your brain reads a headline about a global crisis, a political conflict, or a health-related concern, it cannot distinguish between reading about a danger and actually being in danger. It may sound a bit silly, but this is also why we cry when watching an emotional film. Even though we know what is real and what is fake, this is simply how our brain works. Consequently, it reacts as if there were a threat. It causes your body to flood with cortisol and adrenaline. As we get older, our nervous system becomes more sensitive, which makes this particularly important for women over the age of 60. The regulatory mechanisms that help alleviate stress responses weaken over time. Fluctuations in heart rate can have many different causes, but they are also directly linked to the health of the nervous system. It is no coincidence that your heart rate and breathing pattern change the moment you open your eyes in the morning and are exposed to distressing news. If you are experiencing this, I would recommend that you first visit your doctor for a thorough checkup. If everything appears to be fine, the problem may simply be that you are reading about so many things that are not going well every morning. Many of the women I've spoken to say they feel a sense of heaviness settle over them before they've even got out of bed. They feel tired and tense before the day has even begun, and they can't put their finger on why. Physiologically speaking, that's exactly what's happening. Your muscles are slightly tense, your digestive system has slowed down, and it's all because of what your brain has just read on the screen. Have you noticed feeling drained in the mornings before your day even starts? Tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one, and your experience matters. The hidden drain on physical stamina. All right, let's fast forward the day a bit. Have you ever wondered why you feel so tired in the early afternoon? That wave of fatigue that hits you like a wall at 2 p.m.? Most people accept this as normal, attributing it to getting older. But what if the real culprit isn't your age, but what happens in the early hours of the morning? Here are some simple scientific facts. Your body essentially runs on glucose. Glucose is a type of sugar that your cells use as an energy source. As you haven't eaten anything whilst sleeping, your glucose reserves are relatively low in the morning. Your body is ready to replenish these reserves with a glass of water, a good breakfast, and a few gentle movements to signal to your cells that it's time to get going. However, when you read a string of distressing news stories in the early hours of the morning and your stress levels rise, your brain thinks, something's wrong, we need to be prepared, and instructs the body to rapidly release glucose into the bloodstream to supply energy to the cells. This is exactly what happens when there's nothing wrong and you're lying in bed with your phone in your hand. So, what do you think happens to all that glucose that's released unnecessarily? Absolutely nothing. It's processed and discarded without being used. As a result, your blood sugar drops and you start to feel groggy before you've even got out of bed. You also suddenly start craving foods packed with carbohydrates. By 2 p.m., your body is already feeling quite groggy due to the metabolic roller coaster ride that began before breakfast. There is another, even more striking aspect to this issue. Neuroscientists have shown that the mental effort required to process the emotionally charged information that fills our news feeds triggers the brain's threat detection and interpretation systems in exactly the same way. This is a process that is quite mentally exhausting. Some researchers describe this phenomenon as a news hangover. The brain's efforts to make sense of a flood of news produce effects very similar to the mental and physical exhaustion that follows a strenuous workout. Even if you haven't even stepped out of bed, your body reacts as if it were carrying a heavy load.
Breaking the bedside scrolling reflex. So, how did we get here? How did checking the news become the very first thing we do when we wake up? And why is it so hard to stop? Neuroscientists refer to the first 10 to 15 minutes after waking up as the vulnerability window. During this period, as your brain is transitioning from sleep to wakefulness, it is more susceptible to external influences than at other times of the day. News feeds curated by artificial intelligence are specifically designed for this time of day when you are at your most vulnerable. Algorithms know that content consumed in the early hours of the morning leaves a stronger emotional impact. Emotions such as fear, urgency, and anger are particularly strong in the morning, and news apps, social media platforms, and websites are designed to effectively present these to you. It's not a conspiracy, it's just business. Engagement drives revenue, and distress drives engagement. But the cost is borne entirely by you. The good news is that the habit of reaching for your phone the moment you wake up in the morning is, after all, just a habit, and all habits can be changed. One of the most effective strategies is the method I call the digital no-go zone. The principle is simple. Before going to bed, keep your phone, tablet, or laptop out of arm's reach. In particular, your phone should be close enough to reach in an emergency, but far enough away that you cannot reach it simply by stretching out your hand. A distance of 3 meters from your bed should suffice. This does two things. First, it removes the physical reflex. When your hand reaches for the device the moment your eyes open and it's not there, the loop is broken. Second, it creates a psychological buffer. You have to make an active choice to go get your device, and in that brief pause, you have the space to choose differently. I've spoken to many women who've tried this method. Almost all of them said they felt happier in the mornings than ever before, and that they were starting the day on a positive note. One woman in my wellness group actually summed it all up in a single sentence. I've only just realized what I've been doing to myself in the mornings.
Now we've come to my favorite part. We've talked about what we shouldn't do. Now it's time to talk about what we should do. I'd like to explain a concept called rhythmic priming to you. Although it may sound a bit technical, the concept itself is extremely simple.
Rhythmic priming involves performing repetitive, simple movements to send a reassuring signal to your nervous system as you start the day. In this way, you'll be telling your brain, "Don't worry, everything's fine. We can start the day with confidence." Think of it this way. When the first information reaching your nervous system upon waking is bad news, the system receives a single message: "We're in danger, we must be on our guard." Whereas when the first information is a gentle, simple, rhythmic movement, the system receives a very different message: "Everything's fine. Let's start the day gently." What do I mean by rhythmic movements? Even just 5 to 10 minutes of slow stretching, shoulder rotations, a light walk, or seated spinal bends will immediately activate your nervous system. Your cortisol levels are balanced, it restores blood flow to your muscles and brain to normal levels. As a result, your body prepares to actually use the energy it has rather than searching for energy for an imaginary emergency. This is particularly important for women over the age of 60. We know that physical activity in the morning helps regulate your insulin levels. This means your body processes glucose more efficiently throughout the day. We know this improves mood, concentration, and emotional resilience. Furthermore, the earlier in the day you start moving, the more active you tend to be overall. Please don't think of these movements as an exercise program. In fact, for many women over 60, a morning workout can be a source of stress in itself. We're simply talking about easy, enjoyable, and rhythmic movements. Things like 5 minutes of gentle neck rotations and shoulder stretches. It could even be as simple as dancing slowly to a song on the radio whilst making your coffee in the kitchen. I'd love to know, what does your current morning routine look like? Drop it in the comments below. Even if it's, "I scroll the news for 45 minutes while still in bed." No judgment here. This is a safe space.
Building a high-energy information diet. Now, I want to be very clear about one thing. I'm not telling you to stop following the news. Of course you'll keep up with what's going on in the world. This is one of the qualities I admire most in women aged 60 and over. But there is a profound difference between being informed and being in a state of chronic information stress. And the solution is not to abandon the news, it's to change when and how you consume it. Here's a practical blueprint that many women have found deeply helpful. Firstly, set aside a specific time slot for keeping up with the news and schedule it for midday. By midday, your body's natural cortisol levels have begun to stabilize. At this time of day, you are physiologically better prepared to process challenging information. Your critical thinking skills are sharper, and your emotional balance is more stable. The same headline that would overstimulate your nervous system at 7 a.m. is perceived merely as a piece of information at 12:30 p.m. Secondly, turn off all real-time news notifications on your phone. Yes, all of them. Stop following the newsfeed in real time. You could opt for daily curated news bulletins or listen to a 20-minute evening podcast. Whilst these formats provide you with the same information, it is processed, placed within context, and delivered at a pace that won't trigger your body's alarm systems. Think of it as the difference between taking a sip of water and being thrown into a wave. Third, set a timer. Even if you check the news at midday, give yourself a defined window, 15 to 20 minutes, and then close the app. This is not about being uninformed. This is about respecting the limits of what any human nervous system can productively absorb in a single sitting. Fourthly, consciously curate your information flow. Unfollow news accounts designed to provoke anger or panic. Opt for reliable journalists and publications that provide analysis, solutions, and context. Your information environment is, in many ways, just as important as your physical environment. You wouldn't live in a house full of toxins. You don't have to live in an information stream full of toxins either. The results for women over the age of 60 are surprisingly positive. Physical energy levels increase, afternoon fatigue decreases, sleep quality improves, mental clarity returns, and perhaps most importantly, the sense of being in control of one's own life returns. Your morning is sacred. Here's what I want to leave you with today. You are 60 or beyond. You have built a life. You have weathered things that would have broken many people. You carry wisdom in your body and your spirit that is irreplaceable. You deserve mornings that restore you rather than deplete you. Reclaiming your morning peace is that simple. The morning news habit is not a moral failure. It crept in gradually, as most habits do, shaped by a media landscape that was specifically designed to capture your attention and keep it. Start small. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, take 5 slow breaths. Roll your shoulders back, stand up, and stretch your arms above your head. Open a window if you can and feel the air. Give your body 2 minutes of movement before you give the world a single second of your attention. And see what happens. I think you'll be surprised by how much strength was waiting there for you all along. Thank you so much for watching right to the end. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on videos created especially for women like you. Stay healthy and happy, and see you in the next video.